Hello and welcome to Leadership Up Close. I'm Anne Lucas, the founder of Alta, and in each episode, I have a candid conversation with an impactful leader in Europe's tech landscape. They've got the t-shirt, they've got the scars, and they're here to share their insights and maybe even their secret sauce. Well, hello and welcome back. So this is the second series of Leadership Up Close, where we sit down with some of the most impactful leaders in Europe across a range of industries. And we're kicking things off in style today. I'm absolutely thrilled and very flattered to welcome Jeronimo Folgueira to the studio. So Jeronimo is the former CEO of Deezer, which he took public 4 years ago, almost exactly. I think we're coming to the anniversary date. Jeronimo is a big name in the entertainment industry with a career that spans television, music, gaming, online dating, taking 2 companies public, youngest CEO on the New York Stock Exchange, I think in 2017, several M&As, and there's a long and remarkable story behind the multi-talented Jeronimo. So I'll let you introduce yourself, and then I'd love to unpack what it is that makes you who you are as a leader and CEO.
Thank you so much, Anne, for the lovely introduction. It is really a pleasure to be here today and tell a little bit my story and try to inspire other people. As you rightly said, my last role was CEO of Deezer that I took public on Euronext Paris almost 4 years ago. And I have been basically CEO now for over 10 years. I actually I studied economics, and my career started as a banker in London. So the beginning of my career was as an M&A banker. Back in Lehman Brothers. I went to Columbia University to do my MBA. And then for about 10 years, I worked in M&A departments in different companies. First at Thomson, doing the acquisition of Reuters, creating Thomson Reuters out of New York. Then I worked in RTL Group, effectively being the head of M&A for the group, did a lot of different deals, including the sale of Channel 5 in the UK. And then after that, I briefly created my own startup. I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had a great idea, but I think the timing was wrong and the location I chose was wrong. So that one didn't work out, but it was probably the role I had where I have learned the most. And it really helped me later on to work really well with founders and understand the difference between large companies and startups and be able to bridge that gap. Then I went into video games in Hamburg, learned to do a bit of restructuring there. And then I went into gaming in Ireland, and then online dating in Germany. I ran an online dating group. It was quite a small company when I started. And then over the years, we grew organically and through M&A and became the second largest online dating group in the world, owning more than 10 brands, including JDate, JSwipe, Christian Mingle, eDarling, Elite Singles. And we IPO'd that business on the New York Stock Exchange back in 2017, where I became the youngest European CEO on the NYSE. And then after that, I actually took 1 year off, which I think is actually really valuable for CEOs to take time off, because I never taken time off before, and it gives you time to think and to really explore yourself and know what you want to do next. Then I went on to lead Deezer and did an amazing turnaround of Deezer. The company became profitable. We listed it on Euronext Paris. We got back to double-digit growth. And then I left Deezer almost 2 years ago. Took a year sabbatical again to really enjoy a little bit of time and spend time with myself. And then the last year, I've been doing some consulting projects for some of the large PEs in London, including Bain Capital and Bridgepoint. So I've been, quite busy, and I've done a lot of different industries. I went from video games, music streaming, television, news, a bit of banking. But the thing that always stays in kind of the constant is I'm always staying in tech and media. So media, entertainment, and tech have always been my industries, and are industries that I really enjoy, because they're industries where you move really fast, and are industries that basically everything becomes obsolete within 5 years, and you need to continually reinvent yourself, move really fast, and they're really fun, and you really bring happiness to people in general. So I'm really happy with how my career took so far.
And thank you for walking us through, what is actually quite a remarkable career, and tech is everywhere. So actually that could take you into different sectors. And, one thing that really struck me in our conversations was, yes, the impact you've had across media and entertainment, but also just how transferable your approach is, because, you've worked across multi brands, multi countries, large companies, small companies. There's
Hmm.
been M&A, there's been IPOs. As you said, you've also had a very entrepreneurial experience. But for me, what struck me is that there's a thread running through it. It's making bold decisions. So
Hmm.
maybe it's around how do you take the company public? How do you lead people when the market is shifting, it's agile, there's M&A going on? But seeing what needs to be done in a given moment and actually making it happen,
Hmm.
often ahead of or against consensus. So that's what I'd love to dive into today. So it's like
Hmm.
your decision making as a CEO, almost your secret sauce, because every CEO makes decisions. But is I think timing is the essence. Timing is everything. But also, you strike me as somebody who's very visionary,
Hmm.
but also knows how to make things happen. Let's start with that. So well, let's try and unpack your secret sauce by the end of it. So if we start with, has there been a defining moment in your career, one that really shaped how you lead today? Has there been a moment in maybe in an M&A transaction or a
Yeah.
situation
So,
that's
I think the defining moment in my career was when I did my startup. And even though the startup itself failed, it was the best learning experience for me, and especially as a leader. And I think that's why I became a good manager later on, because my career until that point was really in M&A,
mm,
mostly primarily in M&A. And there you usually pay people really well,
mm,
and you make people work really hard, super smart people, and you tell them what to do. You can scream at them. I have seen people throwing pitch books at the analyst if the things were not good. So it was a very different way of leading. So basically, I pay you a lot, and you do what I said, and it's very, very demanding and very unkind in a way. And then I created my startup, and I didn't really have much funding.
mm,
So I had a lot of people, interns working in my company for free. So I
mhm,
had up to like 9 people that were working for free in my company. And at that time, I hired all these kids out of college, basically. And I told them,
mm,
look, I don't have any funding. I cannot really pay you, but I can give you work experience. So if you find another job, you can take it until I can actually pay you. If the company
mhm,
succeed, you will have a bright future here because you're one of the first ones to kind of get this started.
mm,
And if not, I will take care of you and help you find good jobs afterwards. And what really did to me was that I had to learn to lead people, to get people to work without salary. It was like, I think
mm,
the most important thing in my career, because then I focused on making sure that the people were happy, that the people were learning, that the people were motivated, like it was worth it. For them, it was about getting work experience, learning, developing their careers. And because you have to pay people, and I usually like to pay people quite well when I have the funds. But people should not work for you because of the money, and they should not do what you say because authority and you say so.
mm,
The people should work because they love what they're doing. They believe in the vision. They believe in you, and they really learn and grow. And if
mm,
you lead as such, and then obviously then you pay them well, then the people are really motivated and really efficient. And when a team is motivated and excited and they're learning, like you get amazing things out of the people. So that
mm.
experience really changed the way I lead, and I always really make sure that the people in my teams are learning, are happy, are motivated, and the reason
Mm.
they stay is not necessarily money, but because it's an awesome place to work and they're learning a lot and growing a lot and they believe in what we are doing.
Believe in the mission,
Yeah.
the goal of the company, and
And
being
that's why
part
you
of.
have to, and I think I did become a very visionary CEO. I always have a vision, get people behind that vision and motivate people. And you
Mm,
need a vision to explain to people where we're going. It's like you're like the captain of a boat and you need to say, like, that's where we're going, that's the direction, and this is why. And then if they believe it, then everybody goes in the same direction. If you don't have a clear vision or strategy, like then people are going rowing in different directions, and then the whole company
mm,
doesn't move and things don't
mhm,
don't go. If you have a clear vision and direction, then it's very very easy to align the whole organization to one point. So what I usually like to do is to have a north star. So what is the north star of the company? What are we trying to achieve as a primary thing? Like really your priority, and having a North Star. And I think having a North Star is super important for every business. And it's the
mm,
job of the CEO to set that North Star and communicate it well and making sure that you repeat it over and over so everyone is aligned. That's the North Star. That's where we're
mm.
going.
And of course, when you're the CEO of a company, I mean, you can't share everything. It's a little bit lonely at the top, and sometimes there are decisions that need to be made. Have
That I
you had?
disagree. I fully disagree with that. So it's a bit lonely at the top, yes, but I always trust my management team. Like I always have incredible executives in in my exec team, and I
Mm-hmm.
fully trust them, and we work as a team. So I don't really feel lonely at the top. I really have a whole team of people that I trust that are very different and very complementary to me, which is I think critical. And then the other thing is I fully disagree that you cannot share information and transparency with people. Obviously, there's some things that you cannot say, especially when you're a publicly listed company. So there's some confidential information, some restrictions of what you can and cannot share. But generally speaking, I try to be super transparent and communicate as much as possible
Okay.
because all the decisions you make are for a reason and there is data behind those reasons. And if you share that data and explain it to the people, they understand why you're doing something, why you're making those decisions. And if people understand your decisions, they accept it, embrace it, and follow. If people don't understand your decisions, it's very difficult to get people to do it and follow, no matter what you say. So I'm always as transparent as I legally can and as communicative as I possibly can. And one
Of
thing that
course,
I've always said that I'm really good at communicating and transparency. I always bring transparency wherever I go.
I was thinking more of in a confidential context, maybe in sort of M&A situations where it's
Mhm.
highly confidential negotiations, where sometimes you have to make decisions that are maybe unconventional or unpopular with the other party in the negotiation. Um, have you had to make decisions of that kind, and what guided you in those moments? How do you make something happen when you know there's going to be reaction or resistance on the other side,
Yeah.
so much so that they don't want to make it happen, but it's the right decision. How do you deal with that situation?
I never had that. I always say, especially in M&A, I always say like
Mhm,
deals are done by people. You need to
mhm,
connect and really, if you have a vision and you sell that vision to the company you're acquiring, for example, they can buy into your vision, and you need the teams that you're buying to buy into that vision. And you cannot do a deal. You can do hostile takeovers,
mhm,
but those rarely go well. And I really, before I do any acquisition, I always tend to build a personal relationship with the CEO of that company,
mhm,
explain what we want to do, why we want to do it, how we can work together, and what am I going to do with that company once I buy it. And
mm,
sometimes I do radical things. Sometimes it's like I'm going to shut down your office and fire everyone in that location and bring everything to my headquarters. But I'm
mhm,
very transparent and opening from the beginning and say, this is what I will do and this is why I will do it. And these are the synergies and this is what allows us to then pay more money for your company. And then we will
mm,
move some of these people and so on. And then if there's always an economic incentive to do things. I also believe the deals should be fair. So you should make money, but then you should allow the other party to make money as well. And I always try to do win-win deals. And if a deal is a win-win, either M&A or it can also be a partnership, it can be anything. I believe in fairness and I believe that deals have to be good for both sides. Like if one side is trying to screw the other side, you shouldn't do business with these people. You shouldn't do partnerships. You shouldn't buy that company. It's like don't screw people and don't do business with people who want to screw you. So build a personal relationship, build trust, and work together. And be very
mm,
clear about what you're going to do. And sometimes it's very difficult things that you're going to do, but you have like if you're going to do it, it's better to say it up front and be clear about it. This is why I'm always extra transparent. And in some of
mm,
these transactions, obviously you cannot tell people that you're working on these transactions, but I always bring in, because you're always allowed to bring in the people that are needed. And I always bring in my close team and the people that I need to assess the company, to give me the numbers, because for me it's all data driven. So I always bring on board on any project I do
mm.
the smartest people in my team that will look into the numbers and give me the numbers that I need to make the right decision.
What's been the most successful example that you can think of, and what was
Actually,
different
it's
about
not a
that?
deal. I think the most bold decision I ever made and really changed the company was at
Mhm,
Deezer, and it was on my third day, I think, at the company. And I came from outside of the music streaming business, so I challenge everything. I look at things differently, and that's why I think sometimes it's good to not be within the industry because then you're stuck in the way everything works. And if you come from outside, you look at things differently. And for me, one thing that did not make any sense was the pricing. Charging $9.99 for music streaming, it was just too cheap. And the price has not increased. Like, it used to be twice as much as Netflix when they launched. And now it's like half. And people have never consumed as much music as they do today. And they have not paid as little as part of their disposable income as they do today. So pricing was objectively and clearly off from the outside. But everyone was terrified of changing the $9.99 pricing because they said, this is a commodity, it's the same catalog in every platform. So if you charge €1 more, then everyone will churn. And then I said, like, but that's an opinion, that's a gut feeling. There's no data to prove it. We need data to understand price elasticity. We're talking about price elasticity. So we need data to prove what the price elasticity is. So let's take one country, let's run a test, let's increase prices and see what happens. And then on my third day, I decided to increase prices in Belgium and see what happened. And I like to take big, bold moves. Like, I like to look at data. And when I don't have data, I like to do things to gather data. And the best way is basically just try something and see what happens. Because consumers behave very differently than if you do surveys or anything else. And people think that they know their consumers and they actually don't. So I don't trust anyone thinking that they know the consumer. Like, the consumer knows itself and they know what they do, and you see their behavior in data. So we increased prices in Belgium and everyone was terrified. But I said, like, you always need to calculate that you can survive the worst case scenario. So it's like, okay, what can happen? That this is a complete disaster. But then I have data to know that there's no pricing opportunity here. But from my experience, I know enough about pricing that I really did not believe that the price elasticity was fully elastic. And if I lose Belgium, then I can survive still as a company. Yeah, it will be a little hit, but it's such a small percentage of revenues that I can survive the test going wrong. So I always do bold moves knowing that I can survive the worst case scenario. So that's what I usually set the line. But if I can survive the worst case scenario, it's worth making a bold move. And especially in these industries, you need to disrupt things and move and do bold moves. Otherwise, you become obsolete. So increase prices work really well. Like, we have almost no churn at all. Then we raise prices everywhere based on, we then raise prices in a few other countries to make sure that the data was right. Same thing, a bunch of different countries around the world, all the countries the same. So then we had data to show that there was no price elasticity. So you could move from $9.99 to $10.99 and nothing will happen. So we changed prices to $10.99 in France. And then that gives us, we almost didn't lose almost any customers. That gave us a revenue boost, which we really needed at the time. And it also created growth for the entire industry because then we made those numbers public. And then all the other competitors followed. And then now music is at $10.99. Actually, in France, it's a little bit more because of the taxes. And we basically unlock pricing as a growth vector for the entire industry. And we were the small player in the industry. And by doing that, then we built credibility and a strong relationship with the labels. And we really needed the labels to really fix the core issues of the business. And by doing that, then we improve the relationship with the labels. We work with the labels as teams and say, look, there is an opportunity here to be win-win. Because back then, it was really the labels trying to screw the platform trying to screw the labels, everyone trying to screw everybody. And I said, like, let's focus on opportunities where we can create more money for everyone, more money for the artists, more money for the labels, and more money for the platforms. And pricing was an obvious one. So let's find more opportunities like this. And that gave me the credibility. And then it changed entirely the way we work with the labels, which also was a key part of our success of turning around the business. And the day I changed prices in France, I remember the founder of the company called me. It's like, you just destroyed my company. There will be nothing left by tomorrow. This is the crazy thing. I was like, no, we have data that shows that there's no price elasticity. This is going to work. And then it did work. It worked really well. I basically sent him the data later. It's like, look, I told you we had data. We knew what we were doing and it worked. And that's why I always do bold moves based on data. I don't believe in anything or anyone except data. Numbers do not lie, and you need to look at the right data, and you need to look at it very critically because some people look at numbers just to justify their gut feeling or opinion, and you need to look at the data objectively and be ready to read in the data something that you just don't want to hear. But you need to know, especially as a CEO, I think the most important thing is you need people to tell you difficult things, even things that you wish you would not hear. But if it's a reality, if it's the truth, you need to know. And the sooner you know, the better. So I love people telling me things that are tough and that I don't want to hear. And I only look at data, and I want people that are very data savvy, look at data the right way and bring me numbers. So when I meet with my team, it's all about looking at numbers. It's all about data. You can turn anything into numbers. And that has helped me make really bold moves that
Mhm.
worked out really well. And that's how basically all the companies that I have run, always like all the turnarounds I've done have been successful, but because they were not gut feeling, they were not based on opinions, it was purely data driven. And
Mm.
I'm very disciplined. So I do what the data says, and I make no compromises to please people. Ultimately, the goal of a company and the role of CEO is to make money. You need to, like, a company exists to make money, because if you make money, then you can hire more people, pay better salaries, pay
Mm.
dividends, have profits, buy companies. Everything works. So the number one priority of a company is to make money.
Mm. But a lot of companies still struggle, specifically with the amount of data that they have, but not being able to utilize it,
Mhm.
to sort of rely on it, because you need to be able to use the data to drive the insights. Do you think we've got there now in terms of, I mean, we have all the tools, we have all in the
No.
artificial
So
intelligence to drive insights from data.
so we have a lot of data, and companies now have a lot of data.
Mm.
A typical problem of most companies is that they have a lot of data, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to work with it, and they don't have the right people. And then you give people data, and they don't know how to read it, and sometimes it's even more dangerous, because then they are doing the wrong things because they are looking at the wrong data or looking at it the wrong way. And because it's data driven, then they are convinced that they're doing the right thing, and
Mm.
it's even worse. So this is why I like to work with people. Like, my team is always extremely data driven. Like, I like to work with math geniuses. I
Mm.
think math is the only skill people need. Like, when my kids go to school, I said, like, studying grammar and literature is completely useless. You need to be
Mm.
amazing in math. If you're good in math, then everything comes along. Like, math is the most important skill anyone can have. And I cannot have anyone in my team, I cannot work with people that do not know how to look at data. And when you have
Mm.
huge data sets, you need to know exactly how to make sense of that data and what to look at. And sometimes it's very simple indicators.
Mm.
And one simple one, for example, like I think every company should be looking at, is cash. So um, cash do not lie. I'm a corporate finance guy. So
Mm.
cash doesn't lie. Accounting, you can have like all kind of weird accounting things, and accounting, yeah, can be creative, but cash does not lie. So you look at cash, and either you're making cash or you're not. You're spending X and then you're returning Y, and you can look
Mm.
at that purely from cash. So when in doubt, look at the follow the money, follow the cash, and
Mm.
that tells you. And for example, I've been working in a company recently where the the numbers for marketing looked like the marketing campaigns had a positive ROI. I said, like,
Mm.
look, this data is wrong. Like, these numbers are wrong, because it's like, I see what we're spending, I see the revenue we generate from new customers. I look at the 3-4 year period, and I can tell you that that marketing spend has a negative ROI. Like,
Mm.
if that spend had a positive ROI, the revenue from generated from new customers would not be this. It's just
Mm.
it's straightforward, simple. So you also have to challenge the numbers and sometimes step back. And one of the problems of a lot of data people is that they go very deep into the numbers, very deep into the details. And you as a CEO need to be able to step out and look at the big picture and then go back into the details. And sometimes the data is wrong, and there's bugs, or like you're missing something, you're double counting something. So you have to challenge the data and make sure you're looking at the right data the right way.
Mm.
Then step out, challenge it again, look at the big picture, and then you go into the details. And that's the problem of most companies, that they have a lot of data and they don't know how to use it. They don't use it well. But there's a lot of people out there that are brilliant at working with numbers, and those are the people you need in your teams.
And so, and is there anything in a decision that looked right on data, um, but then you, now looking back, you think you would have done things differently? I'm not saying it was the wrong decisions, but maybe there was another way of achieving a different result or a better result.
Yeah, some things do go wrong, some tests go wrong, or sometimes gives you a result that you did not expect. But
Mm.
is the reality, is the truth, it's a consumer talking to you. It's basically, with the consumer behavior, you really can see what the consumer wants and what the consumer needs. And
Mm.
they're basically giving you data with purchases in a way. So you can really be customer centric and really know what your customer needs by looking at that. So some things were surprising, but generally speaking, I cannot think of any big mistake I've done based on data.
Mm. And in terms of role models, and I appreciate that the world, as you said, leadership has changed a lot over the last 2 decades or so. Who has most influenced the way that you lead and make decisions today? Who has helped you shape you to
Mhm.
become the CEO that you are today?
I would say I had three incredible CEOs. I was super lucky, especially in my 20s, to meet
Mm,
two incredible CEOs that really shaped me. And then another one a bit later. Um, and it was so the first one was Don Airy. So Don Airy was CEO of Channel 5 at the time, and she's extremely charismatic. Dawn is really a amazing personality, colorful personality. She inspires people. People love her. People love working for her. She's the kind of leader I wanted to be. She has a very similar personality to me, and I felt very connected to her. It's like when I grow up, like I want to be like her. And she really inspired of how to lead people, how to create culture, how to sell a vision and get people behind you. Amazing people manager.
mm,
Then the second one was Gerhard Seiler. Very different. He was very operational. So Gerhard was very German, but he knew the details of the operations better than anyone, like even better than the people running it. And I was
mm,
always amazed. It's like, how can the CEO know the details better than the people actually working on this all day long? And when I became a CEO, then I could really understand it because sometimes I go to meetings and I know the numbers better than the teams managing those things. I was like, how is that possible? But because I know which numbers matters. And the
mm,
people that are running the operations, usually they get so many numbers and then they get lost in the forest and cannot really see what matters. And Gerhard was super operational. He understood the operations, went deep into the operations, and got really involved. And as a CEO, I became very, very operational. I love sitting with the people. I love sitting with juniors, looking at the dashboards, looking at things. I like going deep, deep into the operations to understand what's happening and understand how the business clicks and what needs to be fixed.
mm,
And so I learned to be very, very operational, understand your business inside out better than anyone as a CEO from Gerhard. And then the third was Brion, and also very different from the other three. Like the three of them are complete different characters.
mm.
And then Brion was really visionary. Brion really
You're talking
turned,
about Ben Corcoran, right?
yes, Brion Corcoran, who was the CEO of Betfair. And Brion had an incredible vision. He turned around Betfair, then bought Paddy Power, and eventually created Flutter, which became the market leader in the space. So
Mm,
Betfair was a small player, and Brion turned the small player into the absolute leader in the industry with a clear vision. He knew exactly what he was doing. He hired the most brilliant people. The way he understood strategy and vision, what needed to
mm,
be done, and how you can win as a small player was brilliant. So then I learned a little bit from all three and took inspiration from all three. But
mm,
then once I became a CEO, I realized that you need to find your own way because I'm not like either of three. Like my personality is very different and everything. So you need to find your own way of leading. So you need to have amazing people that you can learn from, people that inspire you, and then you learn from them and you take things from them. But then you take ingredients from them and then you add a bit more of your own ingredients and you find who you are. And you cannot be a CEO like someone else. Like you
mm,
need to be your own version. Like and what I learned is that I am very different from all those three CEOs, but I'm on my own and I think I do inspire some people that work with me
mhm,
and they learn from me, they get inspired from me, but they will become CEOs themselves one day and they will be very different from me. They will get some inspiration, but then they have to find their own way. You have to lead your own way because if you're not authentic, if you don't adjust it to your own personality and your own way of working, then it will not work. You cannot be someone that you're not. You have to find
yeah,
your own identity, your own way of working. And I know exactly
mm,
how I need to work, what works for me and what doesn't. And then I build teams accordingly and run companies accordingly.
mm. And we all need beacons, of inspirations. We're not sort of
Yes.
ready-made coming to the workplace. We all need to have moments of, what would Dawn do in this situation? What would Brian do in this situation? And then, as you said, it becomes
Well,
more
that's
intuitive.
it's actually like I never really think what either of them will do, because kind of I learned from them different styles and tricks. But the one person I do think about, like what would Ollie do? Like Oliver Samber, CEO of Rocket Internet. He's quite a character. He was my chairman when I was at Spark. So at Affinitas, the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
Spark, Oliver Samber was my chairman. And Oliver Samber is very tough, very difficult to work with, but brilliant. And Oli, for example, in one of the meetings, I was super happy and proud when we reached 100 million of revenues, because that was a big milestone. It's like, okay, we had reached 100 million of revenues. And then I was like, okay, that's very good, but like, where are the next 100 million going to come from? You're too small. This is irrelevant. So we need another 100 million now. So where are the next 100 million going to come from? And that helped me think. It's like, and we were a European company at the time only. And I said, Oli, there's no way we can make another 100 million out of the European market. It's too competitive, will cost too much money. The numbers do not add up. So the only way to make another 100 million is America. We need to enter the American market. And he said, like, well, then now you know what to do. And then he left. Like the board meetings with Oli would take like 20 minutes. He will not waste time. And then he will send you an email with like only a subject line and what he wants to say on a subject line, and that's it. And he will waste no time. And you would have a meeting with him. And after 5-10 minutes, when he got the information he wanted, he would just walk out of the room and not waste time. So, and I always say, like, what would Oli do? Because he doesn't waste time. He's difficult to work with, but it's like, it really helps you focus, because sometimes you try to be nice with people, you listen to
Yeah.
people, and like time is really valuable. So the only person I sometimes think about is like, what would Oli do?
Yeah.
And he's quite good at that.
Time and energy are very valuable. So, what would your advice be to your younger self? You know, Jeronimo is starting in banking.
Mhm.
What would your advice be?
I I don't know. Because I did basically I would not change anything that I've done. So I wouldn't advise myself to do anything differently. So I would go back and say, like, you're doing fine, you will do fine, just keep going. What I think that really helped me, and it just came intrinsic to me. So
Mhm.
my advice to so not to my own young self, but to other young people. So what I always say is like,
Okay, young people today, you mean?
follow your passion.
Mm,
Whatever you do, you need to be passionate about. Like, if you don't love what you're doing, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're never going to be great. You need to
mm,
know, you need to be true to yourself and know your weaknesses and your strengths. And everybody has weaknesses and strengths. So know yourself, know what you're good at, focus on what you're good at, and stay away from things that you're not good at. And know yourself, be true to yourself, and be passionate. If you're passionate, you can be the best. And in the world where we live today, you have to be the best. Like,
mm,
there's no place for kind of good enough. So you need to be great. And you can never ever be great at anything if you're not passionate. And
mm,
if you're passionate, even if you're not the best, because of your passion, you will dedicate more time, you will learn more, you will work harder, and you will become the best. So
mm,
passion is the most important thing. Don't get a job just to have a job. Get a job that you really enjoy, that you really learn, like something that you're truly passionate about. And if you're passionate, you'll be amazing, and great things will happen. And people will see that passion and will get inspired, will want to work with you, work for you, will want to invest in you. Like, passion is everything. Do not do anything just to have a job. Like,
mm.
passion, do something that you're truly passionate about. And if not, find your passion. Do something else and find your passion.
And in terms
And I
of
always follow my passion, but I'm a Latino, so that's easier for me.
that comes as a given. Any advice on, you know, should you, you know, if you're a young person coming to the world of work and you have your passion, any advice on you should work in a startup, something entrepreneurial, or any sectors that you would say, okay, this is the action, this is where you should go and focus your time if you can?
Not necessarily, because when you're young, you don't really know who you are and you don't really know what you like. So I
Mm,
think trying different things as a young person is very important.
mm,
Try different things, and then you will quickly know where you fit in, what you like and what you don't. Some people were better in a startup environment. Some people were better in large companies that are very structured. In large companies, you also learn, you learn more, you learn different things because they have more
mm,
learning programs, coaching programs, and so on. But also in a startup, you need to figure things out. Everything's chaotic, and then you have to grow and figure it out on your own. So you learn a lot as well. So in both environments, you can learn a lot. Startups are more chaotic and more uncertain. Large companies are more structured and more stable. I think you basically need to find out who you are. Sometimes you know, But generally, you need to try different things. I usually recommend people try to basically gather data. Like, you don't have data to make a decision of where you belong.
Mm.
So try different things, and then you gather data. It's like, okay, I'm good at that. I'm not good at that. I enjoy this. I don't enjoy this. And then kind of based on
Mm.
your own gathered data, you decide what is the right path for you.
And I guess you also need to understand what good looks like, what best looks like.
I
So
think that's very important. So one of the things I noticed working with people that started in a company from the beginning and just are homegrown is that they've only seen that company, so they don't know what good looks like. There's two things about young people. So first is they don't know what good looks like, and that's why you need some seniority and you need good manager and people with experience that will show you what looks like. And also, young people do not know that they do not know.
Mm.
So, and it's something I actually love because they believe in the impossible. So when you're trying to do impossible things, you need a super young team, because
Mm.
only people that do not know that something is impossible will
Will
try and can actually make it. And I think it's really amazing to work with people that do not know what they do not know. But sometimes you do need a bit of experience to know that some things are just simply crazy and should not be done.
Or
Um,
maybe they're faster, if they know that that is possible, but there's a better way of doing it, or a faster way of doing it.
yeah. Um, you need to talk to a lot of people and see what other companies do. You need to be curious. I think if when I recruit people, I always focus on basically three things. One is they need to be super smart. So if they're smart, then they can learn anything and they will figure it out. And as part of smart, it's like they need to be good at numbers. Then the second is they need to be passionate. So they work really hard and they're really passionate about what they do. So really, it's like that fire in the eyes. It's like they want to succeed. It's like the eye of a tiger. Um,
Mm.
and then the third is curiosity. People need to be curious, because if you're curious, you're constantly learning, you're figuring things out. You don't stick to just you do things because that's the way you're supposed to do. So you need to be curious, you need to have that fire, and you need to be smart enough. And those
Mm.
are the three things that are recipes for success. Experience will make you more valuable. So everyone, when they get older and more experienced, they're more valuable than they are when they're young. But I think a young person with those skills are more valuable than people that have experience but don't have the fire or don't have the mental brain power. So
Mm.
and you have to have the right balance. But
Mhm.
for recruiting, I always focus on those three things.
And tell us, what's going to be next? Where are we going to see you next?
I don't know. I'm quite open. I think I'm basically now starting to explore what to do next.
Mm.
And the world is wide open. I have done so many industries that
Mm.
I could end up pretty much in any industry. So and I'm pretty sure I will be a CEO again.
Mhm.
And what I really enjoy is doing transformation. Really, what I'm good at is transforming businesses. So any business that needs to be transformed and take it to the next level, or do a radical change. That's what I really enjoy. What I'm good at: driving change, motivating people through change, and aligning people to deliver that change. So it's probably going to be a tough but exciting opportunity. And let's
Mm.
see. And also, pretty much every job I have had in my career was in a different country. So I worked in Paris, in Berlin, in London, in Dublin, in New York, in Luxembourg, Hamburg. So I basically, yeah, could end up anywhere in Europe. Most likely in Europe, because now I have children, so I want to stay in Europe. But it
Mm.
will likely be in Europe. But could be anywhere, could be different industry. I'm quite curious about what the future holds for me.
Great. Well, look, we can't wait to hear about the next chapter in your adventure. But it's been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast. So
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to be able to share this with you and your audience. Have a great day.